Welcome back to Coffee with the Authors. I'm Wendelin Van Draanen. This is Mark Parsons. We are traditionally published authors of many, many books. And we've started this channel to try to help people who are wanting to know more legitimate information about the publishing world and about writing. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how to build yourself a better beta reader.
Good beta readers are maybe even more important than good critique partners because critters represent that actually very small kind of writing population, whereas betas represent everybody who reads, basically. Writers sometimes, usually, often, always, will tell you how they would write it, which is profoundly unhelpful.
Your beta reader should be someone who is well-read in the genre or category that you're writing in. So let's say you're writing a thriller. If you find a beta reader who is a voracious thriller reader, that would be awesome because they can give you feedback based on books that they have read that are in your genre. And so their feedback is very valuable. They can tell you where they got lost. They can tell you what didn't work for them, what did work for them, as opposed to telling you how to write it differently.
You don't want to impress your friend. You want to impress someone who's a regular thriller reader because you want someone who can who's familiar with all the tropes of your genre, who can tell you if you're on or off the mark, and who can actually tell you how do your books stack up against all the books sitting on the shelf at your local bookstore.
You don't want someone who is going to tell you how to fix your work. You want someone who is used to the kind of thing that you've written, who can tell you where they got bored or where they got lost or what didn't make sense or anything about it that didn't kind of click for them. And they'll be well-versed to do that because they've read a lot of the kind of thing that you've written.
And one of the best places to find beta readers is actually at book clubs. If you are a fantasy writer and you belong to or you know of a fantasy book club, you can query those book club members and say, hey, would anybody be interested in kind of reading some of my work to, serve as a beta reader, blah, 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 blah. It's obviously best if you can find a genre-specific book club. And barring that, if it's a general book club, if you can find people who read your genre, it's like you don't want to go in there and say, okay, I'm a science fiction writer. Would anybody like to read my work? And then somebody wants to read your work who has never read science fiction and they really are into cozy mysteries because they're not even your market. You're not really trying to impress them. You're trying to impress someone who reads, who buys, pays for, reads science fiction novels, professionally written, edited, published science fiction novels that are sitting on the shelf of your local bookstore, because that's really who your competition is.
If you're writing fantasy, by joining a book club of fantasy readers, then you're going to meet people who enjoy the kind of thing that you do, can become friends of yours. You'll be reading fantasy along with them, and then you can segue into asking if any of them are interested in being a beta reader for your fantasy novel. So here's a tip for how to find a good beta reader for you. The author and podcast host, Bianca Murray, has something she does periodically on her website called the Beta Reader Matchup. Yep. So you fill out a form and they will match you up with someone who is compatible with what it is you're writing. And we will put a link in the description so you can check it out there.
And finally, it can be a good idea, especially if you're kind of new to a genre, to have someone beta read your early chapters before you really go any further. In other words, you write your first 3 chapters of the very first thriller or mystery or rom-com or romantasy or whatever it is you're writing. You write the early chapters of a new genre to you, and you find somebody who actually has read 100 of these professionally written and published novels, and you can say, am I on the mark, basically? And sometimes it can be very useful. They can say, the writing is great, the pace is way too slow for a thriller. You need to really amp up the pace. Other than that, everything's fine. Or they may just love it as is, but it's really kind of good to get the confirmation before you finish 100,000 words and you find out 400 pages later that you're kind of off the mark.
Yeah. An early adjustment is much easier than one that when you think you've got it all done and someone gives you feedback that makes you just want to die.
Ask me how I know.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode. If you have any tips that you'd like to share with other authors about ways to find their perfect beta readers, please leave them in the comments. In the meantime, until next time, dream big, work hard, don't give up.
Find some beta readers and keep writing.
Wait, I feel like a little bird.
Tweedledee.
Tweedledee.